Well, it's not fall anymore, but I had a pumpkin beer in my fridge that I hadn't drunk yet. From a brewery I'm pretty sure I have not had a beer from before. And also this one is a twice winning silver medal pumpkin ale beer. And I mean, you still eat gourds in the winter. They're still tasty food. Just because we're no longer in the fall season doesn't mean they're off limits. So today I will be drinking Sound to Summit's Ryse of the Pumpkin King. Well, hello and welcome to another episode of Chewing the Brew. Let's see here. So, Sound to Summit, Ryse of the Pumpkin King. Like the name notes, this has pumpkin and also rye. Ryse is a play on rye. This is an oatmeal brown ale that is made with rye malt, among other things, and then it is spiced with adjuncts. So, quite interested in this. The description was quite good. I'm pretty sure this is one of those I got from Pack Mule. Thank you to Brian Balland. I pay him for these, so they're not like a gift, though he has gifted me excellent beer before. I'm just saying that signing up for him doesn't mean that you're going to be getting beer gifted. I am saying that these were sourced through his excellent procurement and service. So super awesome to have made his acquaintance and benefited from access to the kinds of things he can give me access to. Anyways, so this is a Washington beer, Snohomish and Everett tap rooms or tasting rooms, and just over 7% ABV, and I'm smelling baking spices, which you would expect with a brown ale that's focused on pumpkin. It will be interesting to see how the rye plays into this, and oatmeal, so two of the less common malts, and I don't know that I've ever had a beer that used them together or advertised that they used them together. I'd imagine a combination of grains in your malt bill is more common than not. You want to achieve a certain combination, a certain mouthfeel, a certain flavor, a certain whatever, and there are a variety of tools at your disposal, and among those is mixing up your grains. But I haven't had a beer that has advertised that it is both an oatmeal and a rye malt involved in this. Not very much head to speak of. Let's see if I can get it to come back. A little. It's creamy, but it's really thin. Like it's not producing much. The color is like a dilute coffee. It's not really ruby. It doesn't have hardly any of the red, but it is a very nice, almost transparent, deep brown that's quite fetching and reminds me of a rinsed out coffee cup kind of thing. Okay, you smell the pumpkin. I did not treat this with tap water to bring the can up to temperature. The sink was occupied with my children washing dishes. So, and I wasn't sure. I haven't really figured that out too consistently yet. I've generally enjoyed just bringing the beers up like 30 seconds to a minute under my 50-degree running tap out of a 38-degree fridge. And generally, the beers have benefited from that. A few have not. A few, it feels like then going back and drinking them fresh from the fridge temp, bringing them up to a slightly higher temperature, maybe made their less good parts stand out more, made their weaknesses more apparent. Others, it really brought an interesting and more filling sweetness and kind of warmth to the beer that was quite tasty. In particular, IPAs tended to seem to benefit from that, but that is not this one, and I did not do that to this one. So, yeah, baking spices, a bit of a cracker, like there's a bit of a sharpness to the malt. I'm thinking that's probably the rye. Though I do have to continually remind myself that the flavor, the aroma and flavor of rye bread, yes, there is rye grain in rye bread, and it is even mostly rye, but the flavor we associate with rye bread is actually primarily from the caraway seed, not from the rye grain. So when you're thinking of rye beer, don't think, oh, it's going to taste or smell like caraway, because that's caraway, not rye. Details. But yeah, a nice, like the malt's present and definitely sharper than an oatmeal malt. And yeah, I would say that's probably the rye. And it makes for some interesting dimensions. So I'm smelling this nice mashed pumpkin. I'm smelling the malts. They have some aroma character to them. And then these really nice baking spices. There's a bit of sweetness, but not a huge amount. It does note that they, among other things, steeped it in ginger. Yeah, cinnamon, ginger, nutmeg, and allspice. And I wonder if some of the sweetness might be coming from the ginger. Let's see how it tastes. Oh. Oh. Oh, this is quite nice. Very little sweetness. If anything, it reminds me most of Rain City Roast. If any of y'all remember way back to the early years of this channel, that was a coffee ale. I don't think it was a stout. I believe it was probably a brown ale, a coffee brown ale by Fremont, possibly, that I really enjoyed because it tasted of really good coffee by people who love coffee, which, you know, coming from Seattle, you expect, right? So like the primary, the biggest and first and really kind of the finish of this is this really nice, like smooth, brown, roasty, coffee-like flavor. But there's no coffee in here, not according to their ingredient list, not even in the adjuncts. Think about it a bit and you might be able to suss out some of the other details and separate the flavors, but it's very interesting how the roasty earthiness of the pumpkin, the spices of the other adjuncts, the way the malt plays into this really makes an interesting coffee-like flavor. It doesn't feel heavy. It doesn't drink thick, which you might wonder with an oatmeal malt. Oatmeal generally brings a smoother and thicker body to the liquid. And then pumpkin tends to add some body as well. But yeah, it's thicker than a Pilsner, but not like significantly so. I like this beer quite a lot. And I think that what I like about it, what sets it apart from the other pumpkin beers I've had, is it is unapologetically not sweet. Like it's really doubling down on this coffee, which is kind of a weird thing because like I said, there's no coffee in here. But yeah, and then kind of I have a nutty finish. The hops build slowly. At first, it feels like the finish might be a little bit weak, but then once the hops start coming into play, they're really deftly applied. They're pretty significant once you're, a few swallows in and a few minutes down. But it's really tasty, really just beautiful. So you get it in your mouth, and it's this kind of, you're thinking, oh wow, this is a decent medium roast coffee. Roasty, brown, a little bit nutty. Some of those deft touches of spices over the top to give it some dimension. I'm not sure that I could taste pumpkin per se. Maybe. That might be the roastiness. It doesn't mention they use roasted pumpkin in here. Yeah, it doesn't say. Just pumpkin puree. So I'm guessing not, though you can roast pumpkin before you puree it. And that's always good because more flavor. But maybe it's an earthiness and roastiness that it's playing in there. The rye kind of gives this nice, just spicy note to it that continues to play into this whole thing. It's a complex medium roast coffee from like start to finish with the most wonderful long tail, leave it in your mouth finish. Yeah. Yeah, that's what this beer is. To distill this beer down to its essence, it is a wonderful coffee beer, but it's not a coffee beer. It's a pumpkin beer. It's a pumpkin rye oatmeal brown ale. Who knew? Yeah, there's pumpkin in there. There's just that touch, just the slightest touch of sweetness. So it's not entirely dry coffee. There is just that slight touch of sweetness, and it feels like it's kind of a dance between the ginger and the nutmeg and the pumpkin. Yeah, I am really impressed with how they balanced the different flavors in this and caused them to work together as a cohesive whole rather than as kind of individual counterpoints and melodies or one big over-the-top pumpkin pie mash, right? It's just not that. And it stands proudly apart, and I can see why it has come in silver medal. Makes me wonder what the gold medal winner was at the World Beer Cup. Though I know, what was that? Elysian's Great Owl or something was a medal winner at some beer festival, if I recall. But I don't have my screen in front of me. My screen is recording me there because I use my phone to record. Yeah, it's a good beer. I enjoy it quite a lot. Quite a lot. I'm gonna say this is a 4-star pumpkin beer because it is very interesting. It is a good example of its craft, and because it stands apart from what a typical pumpkin beer is and does so well, it's worth seeking out and drinking. So just a reminder for those who might not have watched all my vacillating over my different star ratings, my rating system is 0 to 4 stars because there are some beers that deserve 0 stars, and that's not this one clearly. So 4 out of 4 is my maximum rating. This is a top class beer that is well worth finding and drinking. And considering it's been winning awards since 2022 already, I'm assuming they make it every year. And I'm also assuming they probably try to keep the recipe pretty consistent. So come next year, 10 months from now, I'll try to remember. Note to self. Funny, it used to be like note to self. Now it's note to self. I will be having to remind myself it's time to find this beer again because this will be a beer worth drinking. Sound to Summit's Ryse of the Pumpkin King, an exemplary and standout and unique example of a pumpkin beer in January. I'll catch y'all on the flip side.